All of us are 70 to 80% water depending on the organ we are choosing. Okay. And when we eat quality foods, it affects the biome. So what is biome? You and I are only 10% humans physiologically.
Woof woof. Welcome to Kanha. Today I'm speaking to Dr. Sanjeev Sharma, who is an integrative psychiatrist from Perth, Australia. Dr. Sharma has also been practicing Heartfulness since 1996.
I'm so glad you could take out the time to sit down with us and, just have a chat, because as you just were saying to me, that you had a jam-packed schedule. You've been here in Kanha for the last 7 days and you've been undergoing various therapies, and of course there's the meditation that happens morning, evening. So I'm glad you took the time out to sit down with us.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me a chance to share my views as well.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure, and we are very fortunate that you could do this actually. You are based in Perth, Australia.
That's correct.
And is this your first time in Kanha?
This is my second visit.
Second visit. So when was the first visit, doctor?
First one was pre-COVID.
Okay.
So at that time, I think everything was getting established. So you can see a massive transformation from the time when I first came and now. Those who live here don't appreciate, but those who come from outside can. And I think greenery attracts spirituality, and it creates an environment where suddenly you're going to breathe well as well. Okay. And that's the core concept of our existence, Those people who don't breathe live shorter,
Yes.
So, and rather, if our resting heart rate is on the higher side, our life expectancy is less. If the resting heart rate is on the lower side, you live longer, So it is very, and that's well known for across the species as well. So, and this is something which I myself practice as well to make sure that breathing is regulated. Okay.
In fact, for athletes also, I've heard they say that the lower the resting heart rate of an athlete, the better the performance. There was a legendary cyclist, I think by the name of Miguel Indurain, who won the Tour de France many times, and he had a resting heart rate of 37 or something, so which was considered very good for his performance.
Yeah, but another thing which is very important, if you see 2 days back, even yesterday Daji was talking about when we are doing relaxation, we are talking about getting the earth energy. Okay. I would recommend all of you to watch this documentary on YouTube, which is freely available, The Earthing Movie. The Earthing Movie. So this is about how grounding skills can make a difference. Think in this way, majority of the time, as we were talking yesterday, we are insulated, we are not touching the ground. Okay. So forcefully we have to remove our shoes if you have to walk around. When we are more grounded, our Mother Earth is a repository of electrons. Okay. If we are deficient, we will gain it. It's like a magnet, it's like a flow which will come in. And as a result of that, microvascular circulation, where there is very limited space of the red blood cells to move, only one is allowed, usually get clumped if we are electrostatic. As a result of that, peripheral circulation can be impacted. Okay. So once we improve our microcirculation, certainly our food habits also makes a difference. Certainly when we are parasympathetic dominant also makes a difference. You start to get better. And no, there is nothing like a place like Kanha to have everything in one.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we are right now at the Wellness Center in Kanha, which is wellness with integrating many different streams. There's homeopathy, there's quantum healing, there's Ayurveda, there is polarity. There's many streams coming together at this integrated wellness center. And so this is a good place to be having this conversation actually. And from what I understood, we met yesterday, you are an integrative psychiatrist.
That's correct.
Please explain that to a layperson who doesn't understand. I mean, we've all heard of psychiatry, but what is integrated psychiatry?
That's a very good point you have made. First of all, it's an endangered species, okay, which means it's a rare commodity, and we need to. I always talk. So integrated.
In Kanha, we save endangered species. You know, there are trees which are endangered, which we are saving.
Yes, yes, yes. So certainly my medical training has been like anyone else, doing MBBS, MD, and then my fellowships. But in the last 6 to 7 years, the way I see health, my perspective has completely changed. So certainly we have a what we call as allopathic stream of medicine, and there is no doubt a lot of advancements have happened, they have their role. But we have a traditional concept of medicine as well. If you have to summarize, they are all Ayush therapies, okay. Now we have to take the best of the both, okay. We have to take the best of the allopathic, we have to take the best of Ayush, and that bridge in between is integrated medicine or functional medicine. So as a functional medicine practitioner, not only we take a comprehensive history of an individual when they come, but we also take into account their diet, their digestion, their sleep, their hydration, their connection with the world. Are they doing any kind of activities? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we take a comprehensive history about every aspects of their life and then make a prescription plan. And often prescription plans, first thing is not medicine. Okay. So there are 4 key concepts on which our health relies on: diet, digestion, hydration, and sleep.
So diet and digestion are similar, huh?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. See, if you know, in our Ayurvedic traditions, first we call as tasir of a food, okay. So tasir of the food also depends on your prakriti, okay. Vat, Pitta and Kapha, which are the tendencies which we all have, okay. Some have more, and aggravations. It's not a problem with any of these, it's an imbalance between them. Now when we eat food, okay, first what's the source of that food, okay. So when I say food, I am referring to sattvic, wholesome, vegetarian, plant-based diet, not SAD, which is standard American diet, or standard Australian diet.
Oh, is that actually an acronym for that?
SAD. And
It seems very apt.
and you know, we should be chewing the food for almost close to 20 times.
In
school
we learned 32 times.
Yeah. And there is a reason for that. What happens is that as soon as you put the food into your mouth, and if there are some aromas of the herbs, that immediately sends the signals through your brain and also give a signal to your stomach, something is coming, be prepared, which means our hydrochloric acid, okay, which is sitting in the stomach, is waiting to churn that food, okay. Now if you have bad lifestyle choices, if you are eating on the wrong time
And eating on the run, just grabbing something,
it doesn't
just
help.
swallowing it down
Yes,
with.
it doesn't help. So if you know, in certain traditions, particularly who follows Jainism, they say after Suryast we should not eat, okay. So I'm going one step further. Why? So from the modern science perspective, around 6:30 sleep is a dish which needs to be cooked.
Wow.
Okay, it is not a, it's not a switch, it's a state of mind.
So you slowly, gradually get into
Yes.
it.
So you have to prepare sleep. It's like a slow cooking dish. Melatonin comes on duty as soon as the dusk happens. Okay. Now that also changes according to the circadian rhythm of our biological clock. So one of the biggest mistake which human beings did in designing the watch of 24 hours, our biological rhythm is 24 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh,
And it also changes according to the season, okay. Except Homo sapiens, every creature in this world follow biological clock.
So true.
Okay, so you could see when you walk around Kanha on the passages of the roads, in the garden, or in even the Kanha Vanam, there's a board of directors meeting going on with the chirping of the birds. I'm sure there is a method to that chirpingness. So I'm sure there will be someone who is in charge, and then after that it quietens
So
down.
whole chorus in the morning.
Definitely. And then melatonin shift starts at around 6:37 p.m. Okay, so he do a preparation. So when you do the preparation around 6:37, you and I start yawning. Okay, we feel a bit tired. So that time what happens is our metabolism slows down. But what about if you have eaten the food around 8:30, 9 o'clock? You have forced that metabolism to work overtime. Who likes to work overtime? No one. No one is happy if you are overburdened.
So you're forcing it to stay awake.
Definitely. And around 9:30, 10 p.m., melatonin has prepared the grounding work. Then the subcontractors comes in, and there are different phases of sleep. They have different shifts, which every 90 minutes shift changes, okay, which is REM and non-REM period of sleep. So just to let you know, for everyone, especially the students, whenever we sleep between 9 p.m. and midnight, we get benefit of 2. There's a sale going on every night, because that circadian rhythm is controlled by the sunrise and sunset. We cannot control that. We need to have a 5 sets of REM and non-REM.
Yes.
Okay, because in one,
and it's 15-minute sets, right?
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
90-minute cycle. So REM sleep is rapid eye movement and non-rapid eye movement.
Yes.
So that's where in the rapid eye movement, you can just consider that there's a team of workers who will come and scrub the brain, okay, and make it hot. But we are paralyzed neck below, because at that time we have a lot of dreams as well. That's why some people, if they are lacking certain amino acids, particularly glycine, they are not paralyzed, and these are the people who move. Okay, so these are very subtle symptoms. You can ask them or ask their partners, first, are this person snoring? Is this person moves a lot? What time they are eating? Do they get up at night time and have a burping or a reflux? Okay, but majority of the time what traditional way of medicine does is tell them, take an antacid or take a Valium or a Rosulam and you will have a good sleep. No, sleep is a dish, I told you, it has to be cooked. So this is where how, one aspect, like as I've elaborated on, every aspect of our health is educated in a functional medicine approach.
So how many sets does the average person need of
5
sets?
5 sets. So usually
Of 90 minutes each.
Yeah, so 90 minutes each. So what happens is that certainly around between when we call it as a Brahm Muhurat, which is starts around 2-3 a.m. and goes on to 5 a.m. That's where the everything has been cleaned off. So what happens is speed of so our brain is like a 120 volts battery. Okay, so just explain in electrical terms. At night time it has to dial down to 70 to 80 volts, and that is sleep. Cannot be 0, will be dead. Okay, so and then what happens is our lymphatic system of our brain, which is called as glymphatics. Okay, it is working, it's the cleaning going on. So if shop has to be ready in the morning, you have to do the cleaning at night. And then what happens is when the morning supervisor comes in, which is called as cortisol, he says to the melatonin, your shift is over, please go home. Okay, and then they see the dirt. Okay, so they give a signal to DHEA, which is our hormone. Okay, can you clear the skip bins? And that is what we clearance. So when we do not have enough levels of cortisol and DHEA, which is our mother hormone, we get fatigue because cleaning is not done. And low levels of DHEA is the first sign 10 years prior to have an autoimmune diseases.
So it's a warning sign.
Yes, it's a warning sign. We don't pick it up until unless we are checked a comprehensive way. We do not make connections. So what functional medicine does is that it actually creates an environment of forceful learning in a medical model, but also bringing in our nature circadian laws.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. And sleep is such a interesting subject, especially these days, because we are in the Netflix generation, where we stay awake long hours. There are people who watch TV till 2 after a long work day. They are up till 2 a.m. just watching TV. So the Brahma Muhurat actually happens while they're awake. I've also heard a concept about larks and night owls, like an optimization that some people have optimal functioning in the nighttime hours and some people have optimal functioning in the morning hours. Is there a difference like that also?
Well, certainly these people have trained their brain. First of all, I think we should be functional during our day hours. Okay, some people may
across the board.
Okay, we are not designed. Okay, we are not designed to be at night time. So for the viewers, I would suggest Dr. Sachin Panda. He's an Indian origin neuroscientist who has written book on circadian code. Okay, so those who have an argument to say that I am functional at night time. So whenever there is a sleep lag phase is there, series of chronic health disorders comes as a gift. Okay, because you are not tuned at night time, your parasympathetic nervous system has to predominate, not the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so it may not affect straight away, but what happens is that as we grow older, suddenly you may start having a joint problem, you may go to another specialist, you may have a reflux because you have eaten bad, you go to gastroenterologist. Okay, you have a heart blockages, you go to cardiologist. You're not sleeping well, you're crazy, you come to me. And usually that is the unfortunate part, that the modern medicine practices in silos. Okay.
True.
Okay, and this is the break I think we need to overcome. Okay, and even among our medical fraternity, which is a challenge, still a challenge. So, and that's where I have already gained an expertise in some of these areas, but I'm also now moving towards functional medicine.
That's amazing. It is so fascinating. I mean, and what we were just discussing seems very far removed from the traditional definition of psychiatry,
Yes.
So how did you get here? I mean, I'm sure you started out within the traditional definitions of psychiatry, that it sticks to disorders and behavioral problems and things like that. How did that shift happen for you?
I think I would say that it is always comes on our upbringing. Okay, my mother was very, while I was growing up, very keen in quality food and hygienic conditions of and how we should be taken care of. Then later on, when I got married, I married to a homeopath. Okay, and so certainly I was exposed to principles of therapies, and homeopathy works at a quantum level. That's why it defies the laws of pharmacodynamics and kinetics. Okay, and then gradually when I trained myself and because I've been attached to Heartfulness mission or Sahaj Marg since 16th November 1996.
Wow.
Okay, so another anniversary coming up shortly. It has changed my perspective because the way I perceive myself and my surroundings. Okay, and usually our movement does context about preserving the nature, preserving the health, and in whispers, Babuji Maharaj has often talked about in some of the messages about our food habits and the pollution which we have created, including our pollutions with our thoughts. Okay.
Daji speaks about that a lot.
We create a cosmic pollution.
Yes.
And we are not allowed to. Okay, and that's how we create that heaviness, and then eventually nature has to do something in the form of either earthquake or tsunamis or some other ways to rectify. Now, moving fast forward, about 5 or 6 years back, once I completed my Australian requirements, because I moved to Australia in 2002. So first few years you have to adapt to the new country, new environment. Then I said, what else to do? Okay, I could have easily join the regular workforce, which I did. Then I met one of my colleagues who was interested in trace minerals in psychiatry. Okay, that was quite interesting because that actually went back to one of my personal experience with my son who had eczema when he was growing up, and at that time, me and Pooja, my wife, we did give him biochemic remedies, and they are all minerals.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it immediately made a connection that yeah, why not? Then I dig deep into it, and then I found my amazing mentors in the journey, and then I completed my fellowship of Australasian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine.
Wow.
Okay, and masters.
In addition to your psychiatry.
Yes, and then masters in clinical nutrition. Wow. So that gave me that functional approach, and I could see in my patients that I was coming at a deadlock. Okay, where a person comes in, you have tried some medicine, it's not working. What do you do? So I often tell my colleagues what choice you have once a treatment resistant case comes up. So this is my common phrase to my colleagues, that treatment resistant become treatment responsive when we create change the environment. Okay. Now coming from an ecological perspective, you could say, if you ask any farmer or any garden hobbyist, if you work on the soil, you don't have to worry about the produce. It's a natural outcome.
Absolutely.
And moving fast forward, that's where we are. Okay. So in my journey, I have met many mentors, a lot of training programs. And this is my wish, that down the track, our treatment methodologies should change in this manner as well. Okay. Particularly water. Okay. Because all of us are 70 to 80% water depending on the organ we are choosing. Okay. And when we eat quality foods, it affects the biome. So what is biome? You and I are only 10% humans physiologically.
Oh. The rest is other organisms.
Yes, so I'm coming to that. So what happens is, whenever we eat, first we have to chew the food properly, goes into the furnace, which is our stomach, where the acid is there, which is going to churn around for 2.5 to 3 hours. That's why before hitting the pillow, stomach should be empty. There is a reason behind it. That's why finish your food by 5 or 6 p.m.
Wow.
If you have to sleep by 9:30.
I think very few of us actually do that in our modern lifestyle.
Yes.
We are still at office at 5 o'clock. So
Yes. So well, make a habit that you have a heavy lunch.
yes.
You know, and then so you have to make those changes, and then once you have digested that food has to be neutralized, and that is comes out our juices or pancreatic juices. Okay, so that's where the digestion part comes in. When you're talking about digestion, if you are eating certain food, that doesn't mean you are going to absorb it. Until unless you have not digested that food and combining with that acid base balance management, and then we feed those bugs which are sitting in the gut, and they are virtual organs. We have about 1.5 to 2 kilos of our weight is actually the gut biome in the form of bacteria, viruses, fungus and parasites.
Wow. What, 1.5
to 2 kilos.
Wow.
Okay, their number is 10 times more than cells of our body, and their DNA is 100 times more than us.
That's incredible.
So in reality, we live in them rather than they live in us physiologically. Okay, and that is where the main seed of the chronic inflammation happens, that if we make our changes. So like there have been studies done that if you eat any kind of SAD diet, we have about 1,500 different species of bug. It's like a, you know, if you look look into our atmosphere in Kanha, you know, it's a biodiversity ecosystem. Okay, you know, there are different plants. Some are dependent on others. Like for example, sandalwood. I've heard only. I didn't knew about it when he was in the early stages. So that diversity is very much needed, and that only can come up if we have a rainbow spectrum diet, because that's how we are designed. You and I are designed to eat alkaline diet, which mainly comes from fruits, not fruit juice. That's not good. Okay.
Really? ये change क्या तासीर बदल जाती?
No, we have taken out the fiber.
Ah, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So fruit, vegetables, spices. Whenever we are eating, it makes our body alkaline. Whenever we are eating grains in the diet, meat in the diet, dairy in the diet, we make our body acidic. I'm not saying we can. So when it comes down to the pH balance, it has to be 80-20 ratio. 80% alkaline, 20% acidic. Now, when you mention about that guy about Tour de France who has a lower resting heart rate, in the documentary, I think on the Earthing movie, there is actually a team of the Tour de France who do a lot of grounding post training day. Okay, watch it so that you will have a further enhancements. I will take you to the next step. And as you know, there are several plant-based diet athletes, and this is something I often advocate as well. Absolutely. That I'm a vegetarian by birth, predominantly initially started with a religion basis, but now it is with a choice because physiologically that's our demand.
So now it's a scientific choice that you are making.
Yes, and I will say that horses, rhino, chimpanzees, elephant, well known for their power.
True.
Okay, and if you have to learn a resilience, learn it from camel. Okay, only leaves and cross the desert. Okay, how can we say that they are not powerful? Okay, so there is a documentary on Netflix for the viewers, particularly students or those who likes to go to the gym, Game Changer. Okay, it's about elite athletes of the world who are plant-based.
Wow.
Okay, so some of them who wants to have a look, but I can say that our ex-Indian cricket captain Virat Kohli is a vegetarian.
Wow.
Okay, and there are several others, including who likes to watch soccer. Messi has been vegetarian. Okay, and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the
He's vegetarian too?
In the last 10 years he has been vegetarian.
That's amazing.
Novak Djokovic is vegetarian. Both Serena and Venus Williams sisters are vegetarians.
Amazing.
So they are best. Lewis Hamilton, Formula 1 race driver, is a vegetarian. You know.
Wow. Well, in fact, I remember it used to be Javagal Srinath, who used to be the fast bowler in the Indian team. He used to be called the world's fastest vegetarian bowler.
Yeah, and I always tell, I think this is something which I have created myself. Power of engine is still called a vegetarian concept, horsepower.
True.
Why not tiger? I don't know. This is a joke I create.
So when you were exploring these avenues, these different avenues, after your traditional psychiatry, you were seeing patients and you started taking this, your diagnosis to different avenues, nutrition and things like that. Was there any resistance from the traditional psychiatry colleagues that you had?
Definitely. Any good movements will have resistance. Okay. Think in this way, did we create this project? Like if you ask any ecological conservation, this would have never been possible.
True.
Okay, but it's a heart. Okay, and the strong sankalpa or intention, that's the first step, and then everything follows through. So yes, there is resistance. Okay, a lot of times my colleagues are talking about diet, and because I'm not blaming them either, because otherwise what happens is you can create a tug of war between traditional model of psychiatry and the model I am proposing. I said no, it is an integrated. Okay, so majority of the time my time goes into giving references. I do often professional presentation. If I had a chance, I could always speak to the medical professionals here and talk about it, that neurotransmitters are nothing, it's cooking a dish. In order to cook a dish, you need a recipe. Okay, a salt cannot be replacement for a pepper. Okay, so what happens is proteins are needed in the diet, and then you need herbs and spices in the presence of acidic environment, and that's where the pH comes in. Yes. Okay, so when I educate them that if I give you like all the ingredients to cook a dish, but if I don't give you heat, can you cook? No. You know, so that is what the pH is. Okay, We need to have pH in the stomach around 3 because we have to break the food. Beyond stomach, it has to be alkaline. As we move from small intestine towards larger intestine, the different biome means the different colonies comes in. Aerobic, which means it lives on oxygen, and anaerobic, which lives on without oxygen. We marches on, and when we feed them. So this is where my role comes in, that I educate, and usually I would say majority of the colleagues are receptive even if they are not willing to incorporate it.
Because you present the science behind it as well.
And I think that's where how we should incorporate as well. And usually, like now we are well known, and Daji has talked about many occasions that how meditation can make a difference. He's quoting about telomere length, he's talking about genetic expressions, and this well known because once you are in a meditative state, you are creating that environment where you are promoting that brain to go into the deeper stages, which is the slow wave pattern, okay, starting alpha, beta, theta and delta state, and then as a result of that you are much more relaxed, okay. And when you are combining yoga, every yoga exercise enhances parasympathetic nervous system, okay, that's a core thing. So whenever I'm talking to my medical colleague, I say yoga, okay, it's not an exercise, it's a parasympathetic system enhancer. When we enhance our parasympathetic nervous system, relaxation is a natural outcome if combined with sleep and other things as well. So I think now our patients are also very educated. So a lot of my time goes into educating my patients. So you will be surprised, my office is also like this.
Oh really? Like a wellness?
Yes, it's like a full of plants. Okay.
Fantastic.
And first thing is that as soon as the patient enters, they see Babuji. And some of them say, I like him.
Wow, they have a connection, huh?
Yes. They are non-practicing abhyasis.
Fantastic.
I don't know from when. They like him. So you are creating that environment. And then we have a general discussion around some of the things which I have got in my office. Okay, some plants, a table lamp, or a web. So these are we call as the ambience. Okay, ambience of the place is very, very important as well if you have to develop a connection with someone. And then as gradually things starts, you start to see there is a lot of science behind it as well. But now, unfortunately, some of the testings which I recommend are not available in India. That's a roadblock at this stage. But there are practitioners who are working with the basic minimum what is available, because as we start using more and more, demand increases. It's like demand and supply eventually. And I hope that in one day we could incorporate some of these concepts in our wellness model here.
Absolutely. There's an unfortunate development in India that I see sometimes is like when I come from a village. So in the village, the standard treatment for anything is get a drip and get an injection. Nobody is satisfied without a drip or an injection. Whereas the previous generation of people in the village, there are still a few old wise people. They suggest this herb, that herb. You have a cold, take this herb. Iska ark nikalo, boil it, and then take it. But the youngsters all want a bottle or an injection, a drip or something. And that drip, sometimes the doctors just put a saline or something as a placebo. They just need.
It has got 30% response.
So it's unfortunate that here we are sort of, our population seems to be moving away, whereas there is growing acceptance in the West, and perhaps you can tell us about Australia. How is the response there?
I think Australia is one of the country where people are quite open. Okay, so and this is something I've seen. So my wife Pooja, initially when we went from here, she did her nursing and then became a naturopath and a nutritionist. I've seen that journey in her own perspective, how she sees now food as well. And it depends on how you present it, okay? Because if you are presenting it just a prescription, it won't work, okay? So particularly for the youngsters and the youth, okay, Those who goes to gym, I'm sure Arnold is their idol.
Yes.
Everybody likes cricket. Okay, Virat Kohli is the best. Why not adopt his lifestyle
He just
choice?
got a century yesterday.
Oh, I didn't knew that. Okay, and you can know that. Why don't adopt his lifestyle? Okay,
Yes.
I've heard PV Sidhu here in this campus. So has Palola Gopichand. Okay, icons. Okay, okay. So what I'm saying is that eventually, I think if our wellness center could incorporate, if we are going to have a Olympic side like level courts or other things.
We already have a badminton academy that is training.
But I think of the international grade or a very high quality grade. But certainly some of the other interventions could be also incorporated, because we will have sportsmen in this campus eventually who will lead the nation and the world. So, and why not have some additional things which could be used as a treatment methodologies, like for example ozone therapies, fresh frozen plasma, cryo chambers, okay, and colon hydrotherapy. My wife is a colon hydrotherapist as well, you know. Wow.
Sometimes within the other streams of medicine, the alternative, what is called alternative medicine, like Ayurveda, homeopathy, quantum, there is also this resistance to intermingling. You know, you become like homeopathy, so it's only homeopathy. Ayurveda, so it's only Ayurveda. Do you think we need to get over that?
Definitely. See, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have a Ayush model. So Ayush contains all the different branches of Ayush. Each one will have their own opinions. That's correct. I disagree with that. Okay, because, and we have a medical model. Until unless we make several bridges across. So like I remember one of my professor of orthopedics, Dr. D.K. Taneja in Indore, where I did my MBBS. He was after the surgery, he used to say, एक काम करना, सराफा बाजार में पंसारी की दुकान पे जाके अम्बा हल्दी लेना और उस फलाने होम्योपैथिक स्टोर पे जाके आर्निका लेना. Ask any homeopath after a post surgery or a bone injury, these are the good remedies. Wow. Ask any Ayurvedic specialist that turmeric is a good anti-inflammatory. You know, so that's an ancient wisdom. So what's the problem? So you have to equally learn where. So functional medicine is the future of medicine, in my opinion. If we are going to stay away from it, we are going to lose it. Okay, because, and the good part in India is that we are land of heritage. Okay, we are land of mystics. Okay, we don't have to prove. Just for the viewers, some of my mentors, and one of my mentors is Dr. Dale Bradison. He has written a book, And Alzheimer's. So he has successfully reversed more than 100 cases of Alzheimer's diagnosed dementia. Wow. Okay, and as a part of his intervention strategies, some of them are related, like coconut oil or MCT oil, ashwagandha, brahmi, and turmeric.
Incredible. Incredible. And how long back was this? How long?
Well, this is a published paper. So wow. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to share with these papers with some of my medical colleagues of Kanha, so that they can look into and read into it, because it is a published article and nobody talks about it.
Yeah, because something like this should be spread immediately, you know, the world over, because
well, good things spread slowly.
Yeah, viruses spread fast.
Yes. So we have to create this infectious attitude of learning. Okay. So I think our center like Kanha is an ideal breeding ground, and maybe that's what nature has a bigger plans. Okay. So, you know, so had a chance to have a very brief discussion with Daji about this concept yesterday. Didn't get a chance because so obviously he was busy. And thanks to you to give me a chance to elaborate.
No, it's eye-opening really. I wanted to ask you at a personal level, what attracted you to psychiatry? Was there any other choice? Were you thinking of other branches of medicine, or psychiatry was the first choice?
People of my era, so which means I'm in my early 50s now, 52. When I did my MBBS in 1995, certainly psychiatry was not a favorite branch. So I always wanted to do which others didn't want to do. Because no, it's a rat race.
Against the grain.
Against the grain. Yes, you can say that. So you are going on one direction, I wanted to go another one. Now, even in the, so I had choice. So I always was, since I joined the Sahaj Marg in 1996, so spirituality was already instilled in me. Okay, I was already exposed about some of the treatment methods. As I said, my son was sick, and my wife Pooja was also involved in that care. So certainly there was a soft corner for mental health and mental attitudes was there, and somehow I started developing interest in this, and it just flew. The method. So the state where I was born and brought up and did my MBBS, psychiatry was not available. So if you look into olden in 90s, MD or psychiatry training program was not available. So I moved to Punjab, that's where my ancestry comes from. So I did my MD from Ludhiana DMC, Dhanad Medical College. And then after that, I went to India's prestigious institute, Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi, where I had a very brief duration, and then followed by NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore, where I was a senior registrar. And yes, for about 2 years. And over there, I got a chance to meet one of my another mentors, Dr. B.N. Gangadhar, and we presented a paper on Sudarshan Kriya Yoga and its effect on depression.
Wow.
Yeah, it is published, So somehow, when the intention is there, I think nature creates that path.
So true.
Okay, so I think that is something which is very important for all of us, that are we intending. Now, this is something which is brewing in my mind as well, like, which I want to share, and I'm sure viewers may not disagree, that we should have a prospective parents program. Okay, because the tomorrow's world citizen should be first healthy, then only they will be having every other things. Okay, and one of my colleagues, Leela Mason, she's a German American physician and now in Australia, talks about, she's a neonatologist, that pregnancy is a 18 to 24 months exercise. 6 to 8 months prospective parents should prepare about their diet, digestion, all the concepts. Then pregnancy for 9 months and 6 months after. And that makes perfect sense.
Yes. In fact, they've started something in Kanha on those lines called Divya Janani. It's called Divya, which prepares prospective parents, and it's just in its, it's in its infancy. Don't mind the pun. But,
yeah, and if I add a nutritional element to it, because
yes.
one of the biggest problem in India is heavy metal contamination in our food source, particularly lead, cadmium, aluminium. Okay, and that is where the quality food is.
And this is coming from the groundwater. Where is it coming from?
Well, our farming methods.
Our farming methods. Yeah, the green revolution. We all tout the green revolution, but we've also, along with it, we've taken pesticides, fertilizers, whatever is required. We have done that.
And that's what happens. What happens is when heavy metals comes into our body, they just ravage the immune system. Okay, and brain mitochondria is so vulnerable, because each day of development, because it's a conveyor belt of 40 weeks exercise. Every week there is a job. If delayed, you can have a final outcome which may be a normal delivery, but not developed brain. Okay, and then on the top of it, as you said about the Janani program, while they are nutritionally thrived, they will be able to imbibe the vibrations of the Heartfulness movement. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we will have world leaders, citizens, entrepreneurs, for the future.
So true. In fact, you already see it in the next generation. You see there's something different.
Yes.
So when you went to Australia, and did you notice a difference between attitudes towards psychiatry, say in India and in Australia? Because at that time in India, I think psychiatry was still, a budding sort of stream. And approaching a psychiatrist wasn't really considered, it wasn't an option many exercised. It was just something that only a few exercised. Did you find a difference in Australia?
I think over there it's more open. So let's put it in this way. If I would have not landed in Australia, chances are I would have been delayed or may not be even gone into what I'm doing today. So certainly mental health is a priority. In our state, Western Australia, we have a mental health minister. We have a health minister
And a mental
health minister and a mental health commission.
Wow.
So what happens is that all the government funds goes to the mental health commission, and from there the distributions happen. So certainly the good part of some of the Western society is that a lot of emphasis is given on the additional support network, psychology, okay, not putting a child into a pressure race, okay, of performance, okay, and we know that like some of the known entrepreneurs were dropouts, you know, so
Yes,
you know, so and who looks nobody asked me my transcript of my academic profile when I was applying for the job. Rather, we should remove that, you know. It should be skill based.
Absolutely.
You know, do you have a skill to do this and demonstrate it? That's your interview, you know.
Offer that, yes.
Yes. So that's something I think has changed. So gradually, as I went along, I could see that my allied clinicians like support of psychology, social work, occupational therapy, because initially I worked in the public system. Now I work predominantly in the private setup. And also in the last few months, I've also become an addiction medicine specialist as well. So I have a dual fellowship in both psychiatry and addiction medicine. And as you know, addiction is a unavoidable beast of the society.
Huge problem.
Okay, and from the drugs, alcohol to our lifestyle habits as well, you can see. So it's a big challenge for the today's world.
And particularly in Australia, I think it's a quite a problem. So what are the regular sort of patients that you are seeing? They are addiction affected, and also ADHD is a growing problem. I think those are the patients that you most often see.
So I often say that addiction or substances is fifth or sixth economy in the world. Okay. And the market cap is, I think, more than 1 trillion.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a business.
Yes.
Okay. From a business perspective, from a raw material to final product, it's a very lucrative business. 3,500% margin. So which means it's a very profitable business. So what happens is that a lot of influx happens from around the globe with the raw material coming from some part of the world, including India, and then it goes to a cartel of people who are doing it. And then what happens is, among students, particularly teenagers years after 14, 15 or school leavers, it's a common trend. Okay, we need to get high on drugs or drunk, or it's a weekend parties. Now, if you recall when I said we get a benefit of 2 hours of sleep if you sleep between 9 p.m. and midnight. So I will add an additional layer, 2 standard drinks, which is alcoholic drinks, which is people say is normal or okay, affect sleep quality of that night by 40%.
Wow.
Quality, not quantity, quality. Because quality sleep is what? Non-REM, REM, non-REM, REM, non-REM, REM, non-REM, REM. So you have to have that kind of a structure going on. Now what happens is, when we create that slippery slope in the brain, at night time melatonin says, I'm not going to work. So you wake up with a foggy head, and then you start having a high. So when you want to have a high, use certain other drugs which are stimulants, which is, we call them as amphetamines. So we all get stimulated. So we can get stimulated in the morning when we wake up in this atmosphere. We can go for a run or have a meditation. But sometimes we get a stimulation with a cup of tea or coffee, which is okay. Some people go up to smoke. But when you are stimulating yourself with the higher level drugs, it is like creating more traffic in the system. So when this traffic in the system happens, you could have a normal anxiety to lack of sleep. In an extreme cases, you could have bipolar schizophrenia. And from a neurology perspective, it is like you are driving an engine without servicing it. Okay, and as a result of that, pressure in the vessels becomes so enormous, the risk of stroke is very high in people who are using any kind of stimulant medications, particularly party drugs like MDMA, LSD, amphetamines. Okay, cannabis is one of them as well. And nowadays, cannabis is not a traditional cannabis which grows in Uttarakhand foothills.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is natural flora and fauna of the land.
Cannabis indica.
You know, but that is only 4% THC.
Yes.
Okay. And as I said, it's a lucrative business, which means if you and I in the trade, we need to have a person who could be employed to be our customer. So what we do, we create hydroponic rich nutrients, and in which they add a lot of chemicals, and those chemicals are called as phytoestrogens. Okay, which means you can have these, because the money is in the flowers.
Yeah.
Okay, if we have more heads,
Absolutely. The buds have the largest concentration of THC.
in order to get that bud, you add that more chemicals.
Wow.
And as a result of that, if we are more exposed to phytoestrogens, particularly in men, they can have series of problems, including their sex hormones going down, their liver functions going down, and then overall their efficiency and performance.
Because I've heard it said that a lot of people think that cannabis is not really harmful taken in a small dosage, taken in a small quantity.
I will take an extra step. Is it medicinal cannabis or cannabis? Medicinal cannabis is a different, it's a genetically modified breed which has a higher concentration of CBD.
Yeah,
Which is-
CBD
which is-
oil also you
yeah,
get
CBD.
extracted.
So that is where the benefits comes in. But THC has not good. So when you are using medicinal cannabis, it's like something like opium-based pharmaceutical agents like morphine. Okay, we have painkillers, a lot of very strong painkillers are. So it's not that we are giving them heroin, but what happens is when you are using concentrated versions of some of the products or using excessively, you become dependent. So to answer other questions when you talk about ADHD, so what happens is that teenage brain, which means first 15 years, so when we are born, you can see that we are most vulnerable species after birth. Okay, any human baby after birth cannot take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, look at a deer or an elephant, within few minutes they will stand up.
On their legs
Okay,
and running.
you know, at least they will be in contact, but
Yes.
human beings no. So that's an important point, that it's not the birth has happened, but after that still certain part of the brains are not yet matured, and we call it as frontal lobe or executive brain. Okay, so when we have not developed our executive brain properly, we have a more impulsive decision making habits. Okay, now if this impulsive decision habits have been correlated with some kind of vulnerabilities where your development has not taken properly, or some kind have a attention deficit problem, these people are at more risk. Okay, so this is where my role comes in, that okay, once a child is born, baby is born, you can't send them back to the factory.
Yeah.
Okay, and
There's no return to sender.
that's correct, there's no return. And what happens is that it's a reticulation problem. So you can see, ask any horticulture team here, any section of your garden not reticulated, what happens? Get dried out. So you don't get signals in the front part of the brain, and as a result your subcortical brain, which is our primitive brain, takes over and you are more impulsive in decision making. So ADHD is a quality of life illness, it is not a life threatening illness.
And do you think our circumstances also have something to do with it, with our dependence on the internet, our dependence on our phones? Do you think that is leading to an excessive?
Yes, I would say that, well, EMF is a electromagnetic waves, and its impact on health is let's keep it on another
It's
topic.
a vast subject.
Okay, another topic for another podcast.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so I'll not go there, but certainly it is suggested that in our house we should have ambient light rather than white light, which is called as, so you should have a warm white, so just for the viewers, rather than cool white. Okay. Preferably, if it can be on a dimmer switch in the evening, it's better. It's like a sunrise to sunset. So at night time, if we are working on the computer and we have not put any filters, which is yellow filters, okay, you create that blue light as an indicator to the brain, we are awake. And as a result of that, when you say night owls, okay, and night performers, you have actually broken that circadian clock. You are living in India, but you are working according to UK or American or Canadian clock. Okay, not sustainable. Because certainly, and that's what happens as a ripple effect. If you have not slept properly, you go with that foggy head. And if you had alcohol on board, what happens is you have created a fog. So eventually you create a sleep debt. And when the sleep debt happens, chronic illness is a natural outcome. Okay, because it's a very old ancient battery. It needs rest after
Absolutely.
for about 6 to 7 hours in the evening. You cannot work about it, and the research has proven that those people who sleep less are risk factors, and particularly if you are snoring. So I'm adding all those factors, timing of the food, any additives, and then if you are snoring, okay, if you are snoring, until proven otherwise, people can have sleep apnea. If they have got sleep apnea, again, non-refreshing sleep affects quality. So as a result, cumulative effects happens, and I call it as a barrel hypothesis. Okay, so like a toxic barrel, it's not the last event, it's the barrel which has been, its last event is the straw which broke the camel's back.
Yeah. So it's not the thing that did it all.
Yes.
That started, like you said, it's been cooked over a long time.
Yes. You cook it. As you cook your health, you cook your illnesses as well.
Wow.
Chronic illnesses are cooked. So this is what happens in the functional medicine approach, where you do the blood testing and you pick up signals. Like one of them is vitamin D, which is one of my favorite topic. Okay, and which is very, very important.
A lot of people now are speaking about it suddenly. We've completely neglected it for a long time, but now people are starting to wake up to vitamin D, you know, having it tested and having it.
And vitamin D is very important. Like it's a master key. Ask importance of master key who's working in hospitality.
Yes, absolutely.
If you lose the
My
master
brother
key,
works in hospitality. He's the general manager of a hotel. If he loses the master key, he loses his job.
yes, you have to change the whole locks. Yes. So vitamin D changes 3,000 genes at any millisecond. It's a master key to lock and unlock. Okay. So I will go one step further. Vitamin D in the presence of omega-3 fatty acids create an environment where nutrition is absorbed. Okay. And that is where how things have to be. You have to, if you see a traditional medicine, okay, their whole concept is done. Okay. And that's what Dr. Dale Bredesen did in dementia cases. He picked up a dementia person, he individual analyzed him, what are his patterns, and then interventions done. And that is in the research method called as n equal to 1 studies. Okay, it's a more of a research, but you cannot do a standardized control trials and making sure that, okay, start a recipe and everything is going to be fixed. No, it doesn't work like that.
Wow. This is really interesting. One thing more that people are talking about a lot now, and which is, I don't know how far it's gaining acceptance in the scientific world, but you certainly talked about the atmosphere affecting people, you know, the atmosphere of a place. Also the way food is cooked, the emotion. Daji speaks about this a lot. If you are preparing food with love, if you're preparing food with that state of, for someone, it affects the food. Do we know any scientific basis of this?
Okay, that's an interesting topic you have raised. You're raising a lot of good questions, okay, to spark my interest. Remember I told you 4 foundation, diet, dehydration, hydration.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens is that water has a memory. Okay, all of us are 70 to 80% water, as I've already said. But when our intention, negative intentions come in, we create negative vibes to that water of that food. Okay, and it has been proven. So there's another documentary I will ask viewers to watch, Secret of Water.
Okay.
Secret of Water, and the second one is Water Memory.
Okay. So now we have 4 recommendations: the Earthing movie, Game Changers, Secret of Water,
And Water Memory.
Water Memory. Okay.
So it's a homework for all of them. And when if you look at the
I won't be sleeping on time now. I'll be watching.
Yes, oh, no, one at a time, because you have to imbibe it and practice as well. So Secret of Water, they have talked about the intention aspects, where in every tradition coming from Hinduism, where water is used in our puja, in any kind of abhishek we are doing, okay, or snanam which we do before. If you go to Islam, they do wuzu. Okay.
Yes.
Judaism, they also have water. Baptism, Christianity. So every tradition water is used. And you would see in the Secret of Water documentary that when the intention is pious, you change the structure of that water. Okay, and that memory goes in, and once that is done, then the chances are. So when we are drinking purely tap water, it is not going through its natural flow. Okay, so this is where when we drink structured water, okay, that's another topic. But when you watch Secret of Water, you will understand where the structured water means. Okay, and people need to putting a lot of emphasis on some of these core principles if they want to achieve a ultimate wellness, because an ultimate wellness or of health will be able to absorb what Dajis or masters are giving to us. Okay, it is our duty to prepare ourselves. Okay, we need to, because he is giving it, but are we ready to, how big is your bucket to imbibe it?
So true. In the Ramayana, we have that beautiful story about the intention also of Shabri. No, Shabri is giving the beer to Lord Ram, and he takes it so happily because the intent is out of love, even though she's taken a bite out of each. So I was wondering, if intention works in that way, can it also work as a purifier? Suppose there is something. I'm quoting this from a personal experience, that I had gone to visit an old teacher of mine, and I had phoned her up and I had said that, I'm coming. So she had prepared, and she was quite aged, and she had prepared for my arrival there, and she had made meat kebabs. Now I'm a vegetarian, but when she had made those meat kebabs, I didn't have the heart to tell her that I'm a vegetarian. She had made it out of so much love, and I knew she'd taken so much effort, and I had it. So I wonder if the intentions also affects, that the way you are partaking it, not just the person making it. If you are partaking it with that sense that this is something that is, I am partaking love, will that affect it?
Definitely, also? Because food should, if you remember in our ancient Indian tradition, food should be eaten when we are sitting on the ground.
Yes, true. Or in the traditional dining way, we sit down on the floor.
Because first we are grounded. Okay. Now, and another thing is that at the time when we are eating food, okay, a prayer or a gratitude should be offered to the meal. Okay. And when we are having a negative attitude, let's say you are fighting with someone, you are in a sympathetic drive. So what happens is, in a sympathetic drive, you don't digest your food. You need parasympathetic activation to digest the food. So there is actually a branch of medicine which is called as enhancing polyvagal theory. Polyvagals means, vagus is one of our nerves which goes from head to toe.
There's a lot of research.
Yes. So when we are in a intense state, as you mentioned, vagus is not active. Okay. So when vagus is not active, what happens is you do not have saliva secretion. So you eat the food, it has to be packed up in a very nice water ball. Then you need a digestion. Acid secretion is affected. So if you don't not chew the food properly, acid is not, then what happens is you're not going to absorb. Okay. Our gut doesn't move all the time. If it is moved, then it is diarrhea. Okay. Gut has periodic movements, and that movement also is regulated by vagus nerve. Okay. So as our heart rate. Okay. Our heart rate should be relaxed. Okay. That's why at that time we should take some time when we are eating our food. Particularly, do not eat and watch. It has been shown, studies have shown with the obesity that people who watch and eat more.
Oh, so no TV dinners?
No.
That's like standard. And we, in the cinemas, we are all eating popcorn and we are all stimulated, our senses are being stimulated.
That is sad. It's a sad diet.
Okay, that's very interesting.
You know, so it is very, and all the traditions have a scientific basis, and this is something, a journey which I'm still exploring. Often when I meet, hear about why this particular ritual was done, there's actually a scientific basis to some of those rituals as well. And you change the chemistry of that water, that energy of that water, and when you are changing that energy of that water and you are imbibing that water or drinking that water, you get regenerations of those cells happening, you know.
That's amazing.
So they are all interconnected, and if you look into the quantum world, that's what it is. We are all energy, you know. If we want to have a positive energy, create an environment so that more grounding and other things, so that every energy constellation comes to our rescue.
Yes, you mentioned the interconnections of the world. There is also a byproduct of that. We are so connected now that I can be sitting here in Hyderabad and I could go to a supermarket and buy oranges that have been grown in California.
Sure.
But they have taken time to get here. They can't get here immediately. So how harmful is that you are eating something that is not naturally grown in this environment?
Sure.
And you were getting oranges, you were getting stuff grown and maybe has traveled for a week, maybe months even, and is coming to the supermarket shelf.
Again, a very interesting topic which you have raised. I think looks like you have researched my my work. Okay, a good research. I think I like it.
We have seafood restaurants everywhere. We are in Hyderabad, but there are lots of seafood restaurants also. There's no sea close by.
There's a very book written by one of our Australian colleagues, One Bite at a Time. Okay, very interesting book. It talks about corporatization of our foods. So, field to fork distance, I repeat, field to fork distance should not be more than 500 k's.
Wow.
Ideally. Okay, and as you said, in our Ayurvedic tradition, if you ask any Ayurvedic doctors, there are do's and don'ts, combination of foods, and also seasonal. Okay, and what we call as that, how it can affect. And again, your prakriti, whether it suits you or not. That's why a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners give you a lot of emphasis on avoiding certain type of foods, like particularly like nightshades. Okay, so they have a different explanations to that. Now, when we are trying to capitalize the food industry and bringing it from a long distance of at least 20,000 kilometers, at least 10,000 plus kilometers, certainly we are affecting the local circular economy. Okay, because they cannot beat the capitalistic market. They cannot beat a big farmer. Now, in order for that farmer who is sitting back in US or Canada or Europe to grow a crop, we don't know what they have used. So, I've got actually a paper in which they have said that it is from United States Department of Agriculture. They have done mineral or the nutrient analysis of fruit and across the fruits and vegetables. How much degradation of the minerals have happened in these, up to 30, 40, 50, 60%. Now we say apple a day keeps doctor away, but not the apple of today. Olden days, yes. So mineral contents of the soil is very important. So just to let you know, outside this seat, one of my hobbies, I'm a big conservationist of plants. I didn't get a chance to visit my nursery here, but some of that concepts I've used in my house. I would like to share their views and my views so that I can learn more, you know. So I put a lot of emphasis on soil health, because that's how we'll get these nutritionally rich food which are not like non-GMO, and mineral rich. That's how we will have a less exposure to heavy metals, because whenever we are adding any chemical fertilizers, okay, like superphosphates, okay, which is good, you actually cadmium comes up in that. Now cadmium and zinc compete with each other, okay. So what happens is that if there is a one molecule, those who are from the chemistry background would understand better, but just a simple term, if one mercury guy comes in, you need 1000 zinc to tackle him,
To combat it.
okay, combat him. If you get one cadmium, you need 100 zinc police force. Now zinc is also required to heal and repair our DNA, our cells, our tissues. Now if the soldiers are fighting a war with the heavy metal, they don't have time to heal and repair, and
So
as a
that
result,
front gets neglected.
and that's the result of that. Inflammation starts and cancer is an ultimate outcome. So cancer is actually a lifestyle illness, majority of the extent. Although I am not a specialist, I cannot make a specific comment, but if I have to make a general comment based on my research and my colleagues who expertise in this area, and I was in a conference last week in Sydney where one of my colleagues came from US, and she is a cancer survivor herself, 20 years down the track, fully recovered, and she is a living example of how. So cancer cells likes to live in an acidic environment, but if we make our environment alkaline, we will not thrive. It's as simple as that. So if somebody has to take a message, take home message from my today's discussion, keep the four pillars: diet, digestion, hydration and sleep. And if they remember nothing, and remember 2-3 things, keep vitamin D in the Indian context between 50 and 75 nanograms per mil, okay. In Australian concept it is 100 to 125 nanomoles. Omega 3 fatty acids in your diet, and keep your body alkaline. You will be healthy living for rest of your life.
Wow, that's fantastic. Vitamin D, a lot of Indians neglect also because there's this traditional feeling that you get vitamin D from the sun. Yes. And we feel in India there's so much sun, we are out in the sun, we don't need to get our vitamin D tested. Sure. But do you think, does that work? Does the sun give us enough vitamin D for?
Very good question. Okay, we are not far from the equator. Okay, so if you look at the global locations of different countries across the northern and southern pole, 15 degree up and 15 degree north and south of equator have plenty of sunlight, and India falls into that, except our mountainous regions. Yeah, so that can happen, and Australia is also like that. So I don't have Indian data to make a comment, so I'll give on Australian because we can have similar patterns. 70% Australians, despite having adequate sunlight, do not have optimal levels of vitamin D.
Wow.
1 billion people in the world do not have adequate vitamin D.
Australians spend a lot of time on the beach as well.
Yes. And during COVID, people who died, maximum casualty was among people who had low vitamin D.
Wow.
Okay. Now, let's say when you and I go out in sun, okay, we said, okay, we have spent half an hour and it's adequate. Okay, I'm not denying that part, that you have been religious in going out, but when we go out in sun rays hits our skin. Okay, great grandmother to cook vitamin D is cholesterol. So cholesterol is not a demon. Okay, a lot of times it's think low cholesterol, low cholesterol. No, cholesterol is a great grandmother of all the hormones, including vitamin D. It's a 4 to 5 step conversion of that vitamin D, depends on our genetics. Now in Indian subcontinent, there was a study done where they actually compare, I think one of our UP city, and which was not far from the latitude longitude perspective and the base camp of Mount Everest. where sunlight was exactly same, but they say that the amount of sunlight or ultraviolet rays in the city, major city, was less as compared to the base camp of Mount Everest, and one of the conclusion is a higher amount of suspended air particles.
Ah, okay, the pollution.
So you reflect, okay, and then the other things comes up is that when we are chronically inflamed, our vitamin D receptor become lazy. So that's where the crux comes in, that first you have to have a raw material, then you have to convert it, and then you have to attach it. Okay. Now if every step of anything is affected, so this is something which I test in my practice. I do genetic studies of vitamin D receptors. Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether it's available in India or not, but that's something but needs to be explored. But I often make a comment to people that you could easily take somewhere between around 5,000 international unit of vitamin D without any trouble.
Okay.
And combine that with magnesium, okay, because you will be reasonably safe. Okay. But check the levels, it's a very important because there are always exceptions in some of these things. So people should not be taking it as a blanket medical advice.
Absolutely. So even there are a lot of variables that need to be correct for you to be absorbing that vitamin D
Yes.
from the sun, you know, and if those variables aren't there, you could be spending all day in the sun, all day on the beach and not be absorbing vitamin D.
Yes.
It's really.
And these are all major public health problems, like say 1 billion people low. Now I had a study article which I share with a lot of my, actually whatever I am doing today is because of vitamin D.
Really?
I developed interest in vitamin D as a topic. So just sidetrack. Now I often tell my colleagues that if we do not have adequate vitamin D, then the whole metabolism chain is affected, and once that happens, then everything is wrecked. So functional medicine actually provides that platform where you are taking the goods of modern medicine, testings, genetics, biome testing, goods of our Ayush method, Ayurveda testing, herbs, diet, our lifestyle habits, and then you pave down a healthy pathway. Isn't it a good form of medicine? It's not a orthodox or a outliers medicine. Rather, it's one of the most researched medicine. Some of my references which I share with my colleagues are not more than few months old.
Wow.
So I have to do a lot of research in these areas as well.
Oh, wow. It's been a fascinating talk. I just wanted to ask you also how your interest in meditation and heartfulness started.
I was always interested in some of these methodologies, I would say. As a young boy growing up, okay, we are exposed to the pujas, and also that is something part of our upbringing. But certainly, somehow, I would question something. So, like I remember one time where people used to wear, a lot of nugs or rings in their hands.
Bilkul, the different stones.
Well, it hurts me, so I don't do it. Okay, so I thought that, okay, if you have got some problem with some grahas, okay, you wear the rings, so which means all fixed. Well, then suddenly you have met with a crisis. What do? You want to put some more? Okay, but when I joined, rather what changed is that around October or November, like 16th November, as I said, I joined Sahaj Mag.
Yes.
Okay, just few weeks prior to that, I think a week prior, I was going from Indore, that's my native town, to Bhopal to give All India Medical Entrance Examination for my post graduation. And one of my school batchmate, Pushpendra Jain, he's also an Abhyasi and a surgeon, was reading a book of Babuji.
Wow.
Okay, and I think it was Reality at Dawn. Okay, so I asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm actually part of this mission. Okay, I said, that sounds interesting. So what happened is, I gave the exam, came back, and I asked him, can I borrow your book? Okay, I don't know why. And I think I finished Reality at Dawn within 48 hours. I don't think it was 72.
So not very healthy sleep pattern, but
No, I think I was absorbed, and I think I could see that the way Babuji explained, went through the chapters of the different purpose of human life. And at that time, also had a interest in listening to Osho. Okay, a great philosopher.
fantastic.
of
Yeah,
the,
I still listen.
of the mankind, and it actually gelled with me that okay, Osho is talking about it. This is a practical. Okay, so the way Sahaj Marg has been that okay, a lot of systems, no disrespect to anyone, talks about the same purpose, same goal, but I have found that Sahaj Marg is actually a recipe how to do it. Okay,
It's the how to.
how to do it, so this is where how I came to see that okay, yes, there is a process, you can see that, and then from there onwards things started, and rest is history. And I don't think I can live without it.
Wow, wow. And did you ever find any conflict between your meditation practice and your scientific pursuit?
Not at all, not at all. Now I think every platform you go, rather meditation and wellness is a core concept in a lot of corporate environment, and that's why one of the reasons why some of our heartfulness movements in the corporate setup have been successful, because people are so much stressed. So certainly the way I'm coming from, I'm adding some additional layer to what some of the things which we are already doing, so that make it more even much better, and hopefully that's how things would change. Because I often say, that's a Hindi statement, आहार बदलेगा तो विचार बदलेगा, विचार बदलेगा तो व्यवहार बदलेगा, व्यवहार बदलेगा तो परिवार बदलेगा, उसके बाद शहर, कंट्री, विश्व, ब्रह्मांड बदलेगा.
Beautiful.
So nutritional creates a fertile ground on which every seeds of psychology and spirituality will grow.
Wow, that is so beautiful. That's a wonderful note to end on, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
giving
Thank
us
you
so
for giving
much.
me a chance, and I hope viewers will appreciate and take some of the.
I am sure it's been absolutely eye-opening, and it's been really beautiful. We could have carried on, but we've taken a lot of your time.
No, thank you very
and
much.
we hope you keep coming back to Kanha.
Well, there's no doubt. I'm building a house here now.
Oh, fantastic! So then we'll see you. We'll bother you in the future as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of KanhaCast. Please follow and subscribe to KanhaCast on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. Until next time, woof woof.